right, I guess we should call the meeting to order. If we could stand for a moment of silence and a salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I just want to welcome everybody back from the summer. I guess we're off to a great start for the school year, and things seem to be in order. I'm sure we had a few bumps in the road like we always do, but all in all, I think things are in pretty good shape. So I will at this point entertain any. Well, before we entertain board member comments, we did hold an executive session this evening in the boardroom, and that was from 6 till 7 o'clock to discuss personnel and legal issues. And so that being said, I will be glad to entertain any board member comments if we have any this evening. I will say, as far as I'm concerned, the Hall of Fame dinner is this evening, and I want to congratulate on behalf of the board all the individuals that were inducted into the Hall of Fame, and congratulations to those folks. And unfortunately, we weren't able to attend, most of us, because we do have a meeting here, but we do want to, on behalf of the board, extend our congratulations to the folks that were inducted this evening. So, and hopefully tomorrow we'll be introduced at the football game also. Thanks. Anybody else? Yep. Okay. I also want to take this opportunity to introduce our student representatives to the board. Returning for her third year, Senior Sarah Glatz. Sarah has done an outstanding job representing the student body. Sarah's not here this evening because she is. I guess she's speaking at the banquet, and we look forward to her contributions this year. And also, it's my pleasure to introduce our new student representative, sophomore Madeline Call. Madeline, welcome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Would you like to say a few words? If you tell us a little bit about yourself, feel free.
Well, I'm Madeline. I'm in 10th grade.
Could you get to a mic, please?
I go to Beatty for early childhood education.
Great.
And studying, I want to be a teacher when I get older for elementary school.
Great.
And follow in my family's footsteps. All my aunts are teachers and my mom was. So I like to do that. I like spending time with my friends and hanging out with my family.
Oh, good. Welcome, Madeline. I just want to tell you, going forward, if you have anything you want to add to the meeting, you have something you want to say that maybe you'd like to hear, would like to hear what you have to say, please feel free. That's why you're here. So don't assume that you're only to be heard when you're spoken to. So if you have anything you want to add, please feel free. But welcome and congratulations. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. Do we have any public comments signed up for the agenda this meeting?
No one has signed.
Okay. Standing room crowd only here. So, all righty. Another sellout crowd, right? Okay. That being said, we can move on to education. And who wants to take education this evening? Mrs. Bender is not here. I'll be glad to if nobody. I'll do that. There are actually four items here on the education, the ratification of the award-winning bid for pottery equipment. I don't know if anybody has a comment on that or anybody wants to add anything. We also have the ratification of the awarded bid for technology, education, equipment, and accessories. If there's any comments on those. And the ratification of the awarding of the bid for laser engravers for the middle school and high school.
I had a question.
Please.
What's a laser engraver? I mean, what's it used for? I I know what engraving is, I know what a laser is, and I'm just wondering, what do we use it for? Is it for etching
Yeah, exactly.
of steel or whatever they're doing, glass, whatever it may be?
Yes, all of the above.
Okay.
Depending on the materials, Jim Cassandra has used the laser engraver at the high school extensively for our students, whether it's creating your prototypes, letters, such as, an example would be letters behind you, letters for stadium. Laser engravers are used for those types of things. The middle school has added a component to their curriculum to incorporate laser engravers as well, and they'll be using it for various products and projects that they put together.
But it's one machine, right? It's a laser engraver. It's not multiple machines. Okay.
No, there's, I believe, within this,
There's one for each building.
correct.
Yeah. I know they're expensive, but
Yeah.
I didn't think it's like you have 4 stations where there's a laser engraver at each one.
Right.
It's one at each.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. And number 4, the ratification of the awarding of the bid for the CAD furniture. If there's any discussions on that. Great, okay. That being said, I would like to make a motion to add the education items to the legislative meeting agenda.
Second.
We could move on to technology, but Joe, it doesn't look like we have anything unless you have something you want to...
I have nothing tonight.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Nolish, if you would be kind enough to take athletics and activities?
Okay, we have a couple of things to add to the agenda. The first is a new student-initiated club, the Italian Club. They would like to be officially recognized by the school board as a student-initiated club. Mr. Kurt Zebley has agreed to voluntarily oversee the club, our language teacher at the high school, so there's no budget impact for us approving that request. Anybody have any questions?
How many, do we have
Yes.
how many clubs do we have, like, with nationality like that? Do we have?
For the world languages?
Yeah.
Generally, each world language that we have has
Okay.
a club associated
Okay.
with it. So you have your French, your German, your Spanish,
Okay.
your Latin, then also, I believe, the Italian club now, Chinese, and various other
That's neat.
pockets, they'll sometimes go in.
There's
They started
clearly a lot of student demand for it. We have 5 pages of
They
signatures.
are
Yeah.
very
Students,
interested in
so
the Latin
I think
club.
we're
They are
definitely-
For the Italian-
club, I'm sorry.
You mean for the Italian
For
club?
the Italian Club,
Oh,
it's
okay.
part of their request, so
And I
think
noticed that-
it's definitely something they would like to be part of.
There weren't many Italian heritage names.
No,
on-
I saw
on that list. Now, just for my own edification, what is the purpose of the club? What will they be doing? And
I believe, as Mr. Zebley explains in the proposal, to study the culture, customs, ways, and also dabble a little bit in the language. With a Latin background, I believe that Mr. Zebley that's why he
And they
nominated
mentioned
by the
cooking.
students to do that.
Yeah, they listen to Dean Martin music. so.
Yeah.
They listen to Dean Martin, yes.
and I imagine there's going to be eventually a trip to Italy and at this point?
Would you like to host that?
There you go.
No, I wouldn't like to
You'd
host
be a
it. I
good
would like
host
to
for
go,
that.
like to chaperone it.
He doesn't have his clearances. It'd be tough for him to get them.
Sorry. Okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's a
I
good
did
check.
have
Joe.
a question. Am I missing something? I'm looking at number 2 and number 3, and I see track uniforms on number 2, like 45 quantity, and I see the prices, and then in item 3, I see track uniforms, I see 170 with a higher price tag, and
Well,
That's the bid.
I thought one was middle school and one was varsity.
Is that what the difference is?
9 through
Is that what
12,
I
and the other
missed?
one was middle school, if I
Yeah.
recall correctly.
yeah, I think it is. I think you're right, Tim. Yeah.
That's why there's a difference. The size difference, Joe, would matter, I think.
okay, I guess I don't see that, didn't see that on here, that one was for each. So we're accepting the middle school bid, but rejecting or not accepting at this time at least, the high school bid, to be clear?
Well, we haven't gotten to that point yet, but yes, you're right. That's true.
Okay. Well, I guess that's the
No, I agree.
recommendation.
Yep,
I'm sorry.
absolutely, yep.
The for number 2, the boys and girls track and girls lacrosse, they're asking to ratify those bids. And those are the lowest for those. And then I think the spring sports, I actually think what happened is that the initial number 3, they rebid girls and boys track and girls lacrosse till they got something that they were accepting. So I think those are why they're in separate motions. Is that right? Because on number 3, we're rejecting girls and boys track and girls lacrosse, and then number 2, we're accepting them.
Right.
Is that right, Mr. Hall, that it was like a 2-stage bid process?
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it
Mr.
does.
Hall? So-
Well, yes, and I printed that out, and yeah, it doesn't say middle school or high school, so I guess that was my confusion.
Well, you know what, though,
I
just a
was
good point.
wondering
We'll clarify that
Yeah.
for sure. but I know
Why
it's-
we had one here and
Yeah.
then a number 2, and why we had a different one in number 3.
I guess they didn't like the initial ones from number 3, they weren't happy with, so
Right.
they went
Yes,
over.
but I mean, there was different prices, there was, the quantity was different, and that had me confused.
Yeah, that could be clearer next time.
Okay.
But does anybody have any concerns, though, about the bids or any of what they're doing as far as the uniforms?
No.
Okay, good. Okay, then I would like to make a motion that items 1 through 3, under athletics and activities, be added to the legislative meeting agenda for approval.
Second.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Nolish. Do we have any Beatty, report this evening at all?
We have nothing
Okay.
that I'm aware of.
How about our student?
You want to talk about Beatty, as a Beatty student?
Have anything to say about
Anything?
what's happening at Beatty, Madeline?
At this point? I mean, you don't have to, I just thought in case Madeline had, if you
How's
had
the school year going at Beatty?
Good. We're starting fundraisers for certain clubs there, so that's
Great,
about it.
okay.
Huge.
Well, you feel free, especially because you're there, when we do have the report, feel free to add anything, because every meeting, we have Beatty on the agenda, so if you care to, Madeline. I mean, you don't have to, but I just want, if something you want to bring up, makes sense, great.
Is this your first year at Beatty, or have you been?
It's my first year there.
Great, okay. All right, that being said, we don't really have anything under Beatty, so we're going to move on to personnel, and Mr. Kelly is not here this evening. Is there anybody that wants to take personnel? I can take it from Mr. Kelly. Under personnel, we have resignations, appointments, change of status, there's some other things, as well as the superintendent's contract. So I want to make a motion to add the personnel items to the legislative meeting agenda.
Second.
Thank you. Okay, we have policy, and Mrs. Reed is not here this evening, but we do have a number of policy items on the agenda. I don't know if anybody.
Mrs. Reed
Thank
asked me
you.
to take this.
That'd be great, thank you.
Okay, the first one is it's a new board policy, and it's on terroristic threats and/or harassment, and it's the first reading. And every one of these that we have tonight are the first reading. That's the first policy. Everybody read them. I know there were some comments that went through the board via email, but Dr. Venata, she's in charge of this. She's actually doing a complete review of all the policies. And I don't know, Dr. Venata, if you have anything you want to add or anything to say on these policies?
Certainly. As Mr. Burnett mentioned, I'll be going throughout the entire year, reviewing policies, going through, making sure they are up to date with what is recommended and with current trends in education. So the first one is terroristic threats and/or harassment. That covers, some of the policies aren't of the most comfortable topics, but sometimes we do need to address that for the safety of our students, our teachers, and our communities. So that covers that aspect. The new policy, social media and electronic communication, is a policy, as you can see, it's repeated through our administrative employees, our professional employees, classified employees, and then also through operations. It's a similar policy, however, it does put on some specifications and shed some light to the expectations of social media with our district staff. Our meetings was a simple revision. I'm on to number 6 now. Number 7, 114, again, a revision, updating to make sure caseloads and various testing specifications are correct within that policy. Homebound instruction, again, making sure that we are in line with law there. And then, of course, safety revisions. There was a comment there. As technology goes on and our society changes, we have other types of flying devices, such as drones, that we may want to address and make sure that that is something that is a safety feature and safe for all students. So that addresses within 705.
That's true. As Dr. Venata said, that this, our business of educating children, especially with technology and, unfortunately, terroristic threats, et cetera, and social media, all of that combined, it's changing so rapidly. So we really do have to look at these things much more often than we have in the past, and which is one of the reasons why we have so many here. These things do need to be addressed. And I do want to say to the public that this information is available on the website, and if that's not available to you there, they can come down to the administrative building and read or get copies of these policy changes or at least recommendations. So it's available to the public for anybody to have at it. But it seems like we're in that day and age now that these things are just changing so quickly that we have to address these things. So That being said, Tim,
And some of these policies, they're only a one-word or a
Right.
two-word change to make a little more sense or a little clearer. So it's not a drastic change in any of the policies. I move that items 1 through 9 under policy be added to the legislative meeting agenda for a second reading and approval.
Second.
thank you,
Thank you.
thank you, Tim. Now, looks like we can do community intergovernmental relations. Looks like you got some relations going on there, Mr. Yeomans.
A few things. First item is board members' attendance at the PSBA School Leadership Conference. That's coming up next month in Hershey. And I believe the attendees will be myself, Mr. Wilgus, Dr. Nudi.
Doctor likes to consider himself as
Mr. Nudi. Am I forgetting anyone?
Arlene.
Mrs. Bender.
And Mrs. Bender, I'm sorry. She's not here tonight.
Out of sight,
but,
out of mind.
Ms. Bender will be there. It's my understanding we'll all be voting delegates at this meeting. I'm looking forward to it. It's the first year that I'll be attending it, so I'm looking forward to it.
It is good learning experience.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
And two, as board members' appointment as voting delegates to the Legislative Policy Council meeting. Lou, I don't know if you can expand any more on what our responsibilities are for that as voting delegates
For the,
for the Legislative Policy
two.
Council.
oh, the legislative,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
what we'll do is they'll put all the legislative programs that were approved by the committee up on the screen, and as they come up, they'll ask for yay and nay on the policies. If people have objections, they can raise objections, and they have discussion on it. Then there's a call for question, and they vote. It's basically the way it's been set up. When it gets to the conference, the legislative policy has been pretty much shaken out and pretty much accord. There'll be a couple people who question it, but the thing is, you have to be there to vote on each individual item in the policy, and I think there's like 96 or something like that. So,
Sounds like a fun night.
yeah. Well, it goes rather quickly. Fun afternoon. It goes rather quickly.
All right.
The third item is the slate of candidates for officers and at-large representatives at the PSBA conference. So we as a board will have to come to a consensus on our selection for the president-elect and the vice president-elect. In our meeting materials, you should have all seen the names of the candidates, and if you followed the links, it took you to their bios and a brief video from each candidate. I think there's 2 candidates for president-elect, and I think 3 for vice president. So if you would please take the time to review those, there's 2 for each position. There's currently a candidates who are endorsed by the PSBA council. But if you have any reason that you would prefer to any of the other candidates, let your voices be heard, and then we as a board next week will have to give our single recommendation for our district's vote, and Lori will enter that for us.
I just want to mention, if it would please the board, it's entirely up to you folks. Would we like to maybe put some names in there now so that when we vote, the names are already there next week? Or do you want to wait until next week to add the names to the number 3 item? I mean, does it matter?
I don't have a preference.
I'm just wondering, do you have, is anybody,
I think
would you like to, or would you rather wait?
I think maybe next week, just someone make a motion on who we.
This
We
week?
would, no, next week.
Next week? Okay.
Make a
I just thought we
motion.
could just add it to that, with that now, so we can put it on the agenda as such, but if you want to wait.
Oh, when we bring this item up on
Right.
the agenda next week, someone just makes a
Okay.
motion
That we
that they want
endorse the full.
Mr. or
Okay.
Mrs. So-and-so to be,
All right, that's fine.
and then we'll discuss.
We'll also have a full board, too.
Okay, that's fine.
Hopefully, everybody.
Okay. Sorry about that, Mike.
No, no problem. And lastly, we have a motion to add, I'm sorry, what am I looking for?
Yeah, number 4.
Oh, number 4, yeah. A motion to support a resolution in support of expanding public transportation along the Perry Highway North Corridor from our district to the services provided by Northland Library and also the CCAC North Campus. I guess there was some meetings with our county councilman Baker and some other local public service agencies about the need to provide better I mean, we used to have bus routes that went all the way up 19.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yep.
You know, everybody's probably familiar with the public transit cuts that have been made over recent years. So they're looking for us to adopt a resolution in support of adding back some routes so that our residents who would like to be able to take advantage of the services of the community college and the library, be able to have some public transportation access. So we have a resolution drawn up. So with that said, I'd like to have a motion.
If I may, I have a question on that. I wasn't really sure why this was on the school board agenda. Do we have any idea what kind of demand there is, or?
Well, a lot of our students and our residents do use in the Northland Public Library, and we do have a lot of residents that use the North Hills Community Outreach, and that's part of it, as well as community college. You know, it's not just for the students that go to community college, but also all of the non-credited courses they offer at night and things of that nature, and there's just not any access now, so. I mean, there is a movement afoot to try to get public transportation back into that corridor, and we're asking Joe that, you know, the board supports that if we can.
We're just endorsing.
The other part of this
what
too
they're
is
doing, so.
Dr. David Barkovich, who's one of our counselors at the high school, has worked really hard with getting some government leaders together to make this a possibility. And whenever he sent me an email this morning about this, this is kind of the end of the hard work that he's been doing for about a year and a half to get this idea to the point where it's a possibility. So I think it would be nice, just as the support of one of our, I think he was doing it as a private citizen, however, you can see where the guidance counselor effect comes into this. It's an opportunity for our families to take advantage of public transportation to CCAC's campus. We do have a number of students take CCAC classes while they're in high school through our college and high school program. We also have a number of families that choose CCAC as a post-secondary educational opportunity also. And to provide transportation along this corridor would just make that opportunity for them much more feasible. So I commend Dr. Barkovich for his hard work in this, and it's why whenever this came up, I think it's nice that our governing body not only supports the work that one of our employees did for this, but supports the concept and supports the ideas as the other governments and boroughs and townships get together to see if this can actually happen. So that's the reasons it ended up in front of you. It's really to say we support the initiative, we support what they're doing. This will benefit our students and our community, and we're behind it. That's why it's here.
Well, I guess then, I'll ask you again, I guess this route existed at one time and now it doesn't exist.
Right.
Presumably, possibly lack of ridership. Do we have any idea how many people are interested in this service?
I think this committee that's being organized is going to go out and get that information, get that data to present to the Port Authority. So we don't have any of that information at this point, but there is a committee that's being organized that's going to get this data. All we're doing is endorsing what their efforts are. They may find out it's not feasible.
Okay.
Any other questions?
No.
So I would like a motion to add community and intergovernmental relation items 1 through 4 to the legislative meeting agenda.
Second.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael. Mr. Burnett, I think we're back to you to finance.
Okay, finance, we have the general fund bills, the construction fund bills, capital project fund bills, budget transfers, and the payroll for the month of August 2015, which are, pretty standard. Not much change there at all. But there's two items on here that I'd like Mr. Hall to elaborate on a little bit, it's the Westview Borough Real Estate Tax Collector Audit Report and also the Ross Township Real Estate Tax Collector Audit Report. Mr. Hall?
Yes, annually, we have the real estate tax collector for Ross Township and Westview Borough audited, as they provide the collection of about 65% of our revenues. As far as these particular reports, they're clean reports. There's nothing specific to say about them other than it's a standard audit report saying that everything looks appropriate for the year.
Okay, great. That's what we'd like to hear. I make a motion, I'm sorry, let me get there, apologize. Still on somewhere else here.
Jumping the gun there.
Having problems with the computer again, but that's okay. I'm just going to,
Or number 7, if you can get there, Tim. That's
Yeah,
the
It's under 8, yeah.
no, it's not going
Township
there.
of Ross. Okay.
Okay.
just-
I move that items 1 through 7 under finance be added to the legislative meeting agenda for approval.
Second.
Thank you. Thank you, Tim. We can now move on to support services, and Mr. Nudie.
There's one item for approval on ratification on the support services, and that's for change orders to, I think basically, well, it deals with the entranceway into the library in the high school, where we put terrazzo down as opposed to have carpeting, and also changing a ducting up in the high school library. Are there any questions if people want to read the specifics? Okay. I move that item 1 under support services be added to the legislative meeting agenda for approval.
Second.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Nudie. It appears that we've come to the end of the agenda. I'll ask our standing room only crowd if there's any additional public comments they want to make. Somebody wants to do that? Okay, so I will make a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.